step number one. When you first get your guitar that you purchased from Sweetwater, from Reverb, from Guitar Center, wherever, your first step is to do absolutely nothing. Just let it set for at least 12 hours in the winter time, during the winter and spring months. The reason behind this is that this guitar has been, for example, in a truck. It may have been on a ship before that. It may have been in a warehouse when it arrived for a certain amount of time. A lot of different climates going on. Now, with nitrocellulose sprayed guitars, there is a chance that if you introduce it into such a drastic environment, going from cold to hot or hot to cold, that you'll get something called cracking in the finish. It'll put little micro cracks in your finish, and you'll see that in some older guitars where they had been exposed to different temperatures and they had a nitrocellulose spray on them, and you've got that cracking effect, which, you know, may be cool to some folks. To most folks, especially if it's a brand new guitar that you got, not so cool. So let it set for 12 hours in the winter months. That's the first thing that you want to do, winter and spring months. I even will let it set for at least a half a day, 6 hours or so, even in the summertime, because it may have come from a cold warehouse. It may come from a cold UPS fan. You just don't know. So the best thing to do for step number one is to do nothing at all. Now, with Epiphones and most Fenders, most Yamahas would have a poly spray on them, then this is not so much of a danger, but there still is other issues with wanting to get your guitar adjusted to the climate that's in your house. So again, even in the case of poly finish guitars, I would recommend just letting it sit for a couple of hours. Okay, so time has passed and you're ready to move on to step two. I like the first part of step two because you get to open up the case and behold the beauty of your new purchase. Take it in. Even in the case of Gibson standards, kind of smell it in because of the finish that they put on them has a candy-like smell to it. So step number two at this point where you've taken in your guitar and you're just enjoying it is your initial inspection. So this initial inspection is very important. What you want to do while it's still in the case, just take a look at it in general, see if there was any damage done to it during transport. If everything was good, take it out of its case and start to examine any parts, moving parts, to see if your toggle switches are working. Make sure that there's no problems going on with your volume and tone pots. Take a look at the guitar and examine the neck to see that there's no cracks, especially here and here on some Gibsons and Epiphones. And just generally do a quick look over of your guitar. Just scan it over. You know, it's good. You're going to do that anyway. You're going to take a look at it. So this is a good time to look at it with a very critical eye during your inspection. So step number two is inspect your guitar. Okay, so step number three is you want to start looking at your intonation issues, your fretwork. This is also a very key thing to do because you want to, on low-end guitars, inexpensive guitars, it's really something that you're going to run into. You're definitely going to have fret issues. You're definitely going to have problems, with your fretboard in terms of the way it was conditioned or not conditioned in this case. These came unconditioned. So you're going to want to start looking at those things because it's going to move on to step three is setting up your guitar. Now, one of the key setups that you want to look at is the intonation of the guitar. A lot of folks these days, Sweetwater off the top of my head, they have an inspection process on their own and they set up your guitar also as part of that process. This is not always the case. Also, it may have been the case, but again, because this guitar has been traveling so much, that may have been completely thrown off kilter by just the transportation things that it went through on its own. So take her out of the case and, strum a chord. Then start checking your frets for fret buzz. Go all the way up and down the neck, check every fret up and down the fret, see if you have any fret buzz issues. If you do, then you're going to have to do an intonation on your guitar. So part of that setup process is having the tools to set your guitar up with. I really recommend that you make a small investment in the tools to set up a guitar. You know, when I was younger, I learned how to set up a guitar from a video by Joe Walsh that was on VHS. So, which is on YouTube now for free. It's a great video. You should check it out because I still think to this day it holds up as a great introduction to how to set up your guitar from a guy who, has had a few guitars. So invest in the tools, part of step 3 in really getting your setup correct, and you will be a happy person because you're saving money and time. The time that it takes for you to take your guitar down to the shop, leave it there for a few days, that's one loss of time. Money, the cost that it's going to take to get that guitar out of the shop. So you really want to invest in your own tools, do it at home, save the time and money. All right, number 4. Number 4 we kind of alluded to a little bit in number 3 when we talked about the fretboard of your guitar. You really need to invest in a good fretboard conditioner. I use a Dunlop 65 oil. I've transferred it over to this bottle because, I just like this bottle better. Anyways, it's a little bit sturdier. But in any case, you want to use a Dunlop 65 oil or any other professional conditioner for your fretboard, your guitar fretboard. Yeah, some of these Gibsons and Epiphones come in with the most Sierra dry fretboard you ever seen. If you blew on it, they just blow away. So yeah, investment in some good Dunlop 65, what I like to use. Your mileage may vary, so find a product, but make sure it's professional fret oil because you don't want to mess around on that. There's something about lemon oil I'm hearing that's no good. So just stick with the basics. Really cheap, about $13. Also part of number 4 of conditioning your guitar is the polish work. Now I'm going to say something very controversial here today that a lot of you will probably be surprised to hear out of my mouth, but I actually use turtle wax to polish my guitars with. I have for a while now. It's got to be the turtle wax that has the I can never pronounce that. Carnauba oil. So get this one that says Carnauba oil 100%, and this is the way to go. My understanding is that Taylor guitars, they use turtle wax, this exact one, in order to polish their guitars when they're getting ready to get sent out. Speaking of polishing, you also want to invest in a microfiber cloths. You can get a pack of these for very cheap. These are the perfect cloths for polishing your guitar. These will not leave microscopic abrasions on your guitar finish, at least not that I've seen, and I've had some guitars with some really spectacular finishes. When I'm done playing my guitar, I wipe the neck down with the microfiber cloth. I also give the body a buffing with it as well to get my oils from my arms and sweating off of it as well, and I put it in the case. If you want a good resale value on your guitars, I recommend that as well. But either way, you need to invest in some of these in order to give your guitar the sheen and the look that it deserves. So let's run down the list. 1, when you get your guitar in, the first thing to do is nothing. Let it set for 12 hours, let it get set to the microclimate within your house. Step 2, once you open up that case, is to do a very thorough inspection of your instrument. Check the toggle switch to make sure it works. Check the neck to make sure there's no breaks. Check everything on that guitar for any damage that might have occurred at the factory or during shipping. I would also recommend that you have a camera or a video camera in order to document your inspection of that guitar when it first comes in. Step number 3 was the setup of the guitar. You may find that you have to do a setup on your guitar. My recommendation, as opposed to going to a shop and doing that, is to learn the skill of setting up the guitar yourself. Also, it wouldn't hurt to understand the process of setting the neck as well, learning how to use your truss rod tools. So just a thought. And step 4, we talked about conditioning your guitar, getting it ready to play. That involves taking those nasty strings off and putting on, your set that you like. Before you do that, taking a look at that fretboard and using a fretboard polish in order to give it the conditioning that it needs. The next step after that is getting your microfiber and your wax, and if needed, giving it a nice little buff. You don't need much, a little bit goes a long way. And your guitar at this point should be 100% ready, good to go. And we'll move on to step 5, which is enjoy your guitar. Play it, have fun with it, explore it. If you have gas, it ain't gonna last long. 6 months, 8 months, you'll be looking at something else and think, well, maybe I could sell that one to get that one. Hey, it's the nature of the game. But while you got it, you got yourself a perfect guitar that had no issues because you did these 5 simple steps in order to ensure that you have a great instrument going forward. I hope you enjoyed today's show, a very quick one. I enjoyed bringing it to you. If you really enjoyed it, take the time to hit the like button. And if you like the contents of this channel, take the time to subscribe with us. We've got a lot of great stuff like this every week, and I'm sure you're going to find something that you'll enjoy. Until the next time, you guys take care. Bye-bye.